Welcome to the Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, CaptainLogun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today. So tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, we are going to be talking about the update to Sea of Thieves with the Gold Hoarders. They're joining us for the January episode for the community. And we're going to be talking about the Mimic Dart. We're going to be talking about whether or not this was justified, how we feel about the game, get some feedback because of the developer update that was recently released from Drew Stevens. All that and more in this week's episode of Keelhauled Podcast. But before I get into any of that, I have to thank the patrons. They are the ones that are supporting this content and myself. They're making it easier for me to just, well, be able to keep doing this. There are costs involved that I use to help with the software, with the YouTube. I'm putting out more content, and I actually just upgraded my lighting system for streaming as I'm getting back into that. So because of that, I want to thank them because their funds, their support, their just consideration means the world to me. And as such, I like to show that appreciation through calling out the patrons every single episode. Starting off at the top of the list, thank you to A-Chick, Toasts, L-Cute, Balls, Blue Turtle V1, Captain Chonky, Captain Longsharts, Chateau Noof, Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cloud, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, Davram TV, El Jefe Esteban, Godhammer 6, Jorby Jorbs, Carl Embo, Kylea the Aficionado, Mr. Blizzard, Evil Morpheus. I don't know where the L came from. Evil Morpheus, Space Admiral Ors, Xbox Mike 29, which I haven't heard from him in a while. Hope he's doing all right. Mutinous Max, Norwegian, Regis Stella, the Brony Pirate, who's actually on this episode as well. Ribloid, Rust Belt Kid, who popped in for a bit. Scumelt 666, Tommy D, TN Professor, Vibralux, Wailing Witch, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, The Lore Chronologist, Deadeye Dre, Hager Owl, Jeff H, Captain Duckweed, Evil Martha, Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Thor Von Blitz, Luke Lord, the Insipid Ghost, and Zam. Wow. Hopefully you're doing good, buddy. Try not to work so hard. Okay. All right, pirates. That's going to do it. So, yeah, let's get into the episode. Welcome everyone to the January 2025 community episode with the Gold Hoarders. I am sitting with a lovely bunch of people, all amazingly beautiful and intelligent and kind and generous with their time, with their money, and just with their friendship. So I'm hanging out with folks today. We're going to be talking about the latest update. This is patch 3.2.3 for Sea of Thieves that just got released. It was kind of a supplemental update to season 14, which expanded the ammo type for the blow dart as well as some changes to the grapple gun. But we also got a developer update from Drew Stevens that talked a lot about how they plan to kind of address some of the things going on with the game in the future updates, and just in general trying to reassure us that while major content may not be coming for a while, the focus right now is to stick the landing with some of these bashes that they're doing at the studio to try and optimize the game, find ways to reinforce the foundation to try and make the game more stable. All that being said, we're going to get into all of that and more. And right now we're going to jump into who's going to be joining with us. And as I announce them, they can go ahead and call out their name and say hi. So A-Chick, welcome. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. First time on the podcast. Glad to be here.
Finally convinced you to join up after you've been supporting for a while.
Took a lot of convincing. You know?
It did. I had to promise there was no cameras. I had to promise that there was no blackmail.
Whatever.
That there would be like any and all thing I could possibly promise, like sale times later on, like Call of Duty skins, all these things. It was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Definitely
happened. Thank you for joining. Norwegian.
Yeah.
How you doing, buddy?
Hey guys, greetings from the nice and cozy Arizona. You guys all laughed at me during the summer, but who's laughing now? It's nice here. And I apologize now for any cute baby noises. I do have my 1-year-old with me.
Oh, well, no, I appreciate that. And I'm glad that you guys are having a good time down in Arizona. I was stuck at the airport for a few hours the other day, and I was looking at Camelback Mountain thinking, God, I haven't seen this in a while. This is weird.
Right. And it's like perfect right now, too.
Yeah. That's nice weather. Coming from down under all the way down in a time zone that I always struggle to remember. The one and only Regis Stella, the Brony Pirate. How you doing, Regis?
Yeah, I'm doing good, doing good. It is currently 13 past 8 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And also, I'm really excited for this new Lego theme that is coming out, and that isn't Bluey, mind you. It is Lego One Piece, based on the live action.
Yeah.
So I'll be looking for...
Saw that. We got some pirate stuff coming to, some new piratey stuff coming to Lego.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
Yeah. Not the first time Lego's done a pirate theme based on another franchise, but I'm interested to see how they do One Piece.
I can
Maybe
imagine
a sign of things to come.
They have to do something fun with Luffy, with like the fact that he can like stretch and you can just attach multiple little sections of Lego arms to him so that his arms get really long and noodly. Like that would be I'm hoping that they do something fun with that.
Yeah, and if they do it going merry, I'm gonna get that. But maybe this is a sign of things to come for more crossovers with One Piece as a whole.
Yeah, it seems to be One Piece is definitely getting a foothold in the United States and just in kind of Western culture and stuff. I'm happy to see it. And last but not least, well, he may be last in Mario Kart, but that's because really he's just, he doesn't spend enough time driving in Mario Kart. Rust Belt Kid. Rusty, how you doing over there, buddy?
I'm doing good. Just coming from you. Unfortunately, not the beautiful, nice, warm confines of Arizona, but the nice, snow, icy confines of the Gulf Coast, since it decided that it wanted to give us a winter storm. But I'm glad it's pretty much almost all gone and all melted, and we'll continue on with our nice, beautiful 100% humidity and 90-degree days here soon.
Right. It's coming around the corner. Did you make a snowman by chance?
I did not. We got yelled at by our neighbors because they were wondering why our snow in our front yard didn't look like 50 children were running around in it. It looked nice and pristine and fluffy. And the one neighbor said, "Hey, why aren't you guys out just building snowmen and stuff?" And I was like, "Look, I was born in this, raised in this. I took my little 2-mile walk. I checked on the neighborhood, did my HOA president, thing, made sure everybody was okay. And then I was like, nope, we're going back inside." So that's what we did. And then we stayed inside for pretty much 2 days, except to let the dogs out. So
wow.
I did do a snow angel. I did do a snow angel though.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, so I gotta say, as someone who does not see snow that often anymore, I don't blame you. But at the same time, the last time I had a really, really good snowfall and I felt ambitious, I personally went out and shoveled the driveway and then took all that snow and turned it into a Helm's Deep for my front yard, and with little turrets and everything. And I kind of waited for kids to come by and I threw snowballs at them during school. It was a lot of fun.
I probably should have done that instead. But I did find out, which off the caveat here, but didn't realize, I've never heard of snow cream before. And I don't know if it's a South thing. I don't know what it is. But apparently, a bowl of fresh snow with some heavy whipping cream and I guess whatever flavors you want. And I guess it's kind of like ice cream. Chose not to do that because when I was thinking about it, I was thinking about the yellow snow and I was like, I don't know about this. But
yeah,
you learn something new every day.
It's not pineapple. Yeah.
No,
that's not pineapple. Well, folks, I'm really glad that you decided to jump in and join us. There's a lot of stuff to cover, and I want to dive into the show notes, or not the show notes. I don't do show notes. I do release notes. So I wanted to go into the release notes for this update, just to kind of give some folks some opportunity to find out like what's going on, like how can you, or what to expect with it. We finally got the Mimic Dart, and I've been playing around with it a little bit, not a whole bunch, but it is now as part of the blow dart ammo types. And A-Chick and I, we just finished a Fort of Fortune before coming on to record this episode, and I spent most of my time with the blow dart. And first off, the fact that my key bindings don't save every session is super annoying, because the G key is walk and the H key is to swap ammo types with the blow dart. And because they're so far away from WASD, I tend to fat finger the G and H. So as I'm trying to like jump and run and switch ammo types, I'm constantly like slowing myself and walking. And I really wish that was a thing that I didn't have to think about. So the Mimic Dart's in. Has anyone gotten a chance to play around with it outside of me?
I have completed all of the challenges. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Ajik. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I haven't had a chance to use it yet, but Logan turned himself into me and then blew up all of our cakes on the fort. It was good.
Yep. That way I
So
couldn't
who
be
blew it
blamed.
up?
She did. she blew them all up. And to be fair,
No, I didn't.
when I was sitting there doing my little point emote to get the commendation and I was pointing at her, I saw behind her a skeleton like slowly walking up, getting ready to like smack us as there was like a powder keg right at our feet. And I didn't say anything because I didn't want to ruin the moment. And then I got blamed for us dying. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you didn't save me.
Oh, I did. You didn't save me though. Well, that's not how that works. That's when we both die. There's no saving either of us. We both lose.
Oh, okay. I understand. I see how this works now.
Yeah. I think that's how I don't know. Norwegian, you got all the commendations knocked out. How hard was that for you? And how did you kind of go about it?
So the pointing one just kind of turned into a guy copying me, and then I copied me back. So it was me pointing at me. So a lot of confusion and fun on that level. The actual killing of, you have to kill 10 pirates, and that I did naturally, but I can say for sure it is extremely hard to get people to not notice that they've been hit with it. One second, I gotta take this kid.
Oh, really? That was always kind of the issue that I have with the blow dart is they want you to try and do some of the sneaky stuff, but as far as I know, the blow dart like causes like a little flash of damage to kind of let people know like, hey, you got hit with something. So I don't know if that's,
It doesn't cause any damage,
Okay.
but it does make you flinch. So if you're interacting with something, it will stop you. It makes a very, very subtle sound. So if you have a seasoned pirate who's paying attention to all those little subtle cues, like we all do, they're going to notice that, hey, something isn't right. Something just happened. I'm not sure what it is, but something's not right. The level of planning and prepping that it takes is pretty intense, where most people are going to either know something is going on while you're there trying to land this mimic dart, or they're going to be completely oblivious. So I've only had a couple of instances where it was a natural, I actually landed it without them noticing, but they quickly knew within moments that something wasn't right when they're probably communicating because they're in party chat or whatever, and I'm on the boat and they're members on the island. So they instantly knew something was up. The actual full 2-minute challenge that I had to do myself with friends that I've just made on the seas, but incredibly situational. It's a lot of fun. Not necessary though. I think we would have been okay without this in the game.
Interesting. Okay. So I like the kind of like deep dive that you've kind of provided, because I think that's going to help folks who are finding themselves frustrated with trying to get these done a little reassured that no, these are going to take a lot of effort and some time, and the more and more people get used to this being something in the game, the more likelihood that you're not going to really be able to like sneak it in. And I think that's one of the issues that I've run into with all of this kind of sneak play is people will start to kind of realize it, like the same way people started to know where to check for tuckers on islands and forts and ships and stuff like that. This will just start to kind of make its way to the vernacular and how people can address and comment about it. And then as people get more experience and find out what people are doing with it, it's going to be harder and harder for these achievements to do. Kind of in the same way that I think that a lot of people just kind of give up if they're new and they're trying to get like another crew to alliance with them and then go and do like a skeleton throne or something like that. Like the barrier to entry is going to become harder and harder for people to get some of these commendations done, similar to I think like the traps are a good example. But would you agree with that, or do you find fault in my logic?
No, I 100% agree with that. I mean, just for me to get the one time where I did, the couple times I did land it without them noticing, I was popping merfruit like crazy so they don't see the mermaid. So I had to plan for that to make sure I had supplies for that, make sure I got myself into a position close enough to land the dart and then get on the boat. And then still, eventually, what gave me away was my merfruit ran out and then communication back and forth. So there's a lot of planning. You need to utilize all of it, all the tools that are now available to you. So the sneaking, crouching, all of it to pull it off. I think if they tweak the balance, like if they increase the time on Merfruit, I think that would definitely help it out. But you've definitely got to use your full arsenal to pull it off.
Man, that sounds like a lot of effort for what kind of rewards are we looking at? Because as far as I know, maybe titles at best, but we're not even getting any kind of doubloons or anything off of this. Am I correct?
There's nothing but commendations. I am glad they didn't tie any achievements or anything to it, just because of number one, this was delayed, so it's not part of the initial release, but just the amount of work that goes into it. I don't think there's anything really worth it that they could tie to it. It's a lot of fun to pull off. It's a lot of fun to mess around with your friends, but yeah, it's the risk reward is not there, I feel like.
Hmm. So
I agree. I mean, I kind of feel like for the seasoned pirate, they're gonna know right away that something's up. It's pretty much gonna be your inexperienced pirates that really have to learn that, you know.
yeah. Yeah, and I think that's unfortunate because at a certain point you're only going to have a number of influx for fresh pirates. And just looking at it how it is, like most people right now who are seasoned already kind of tell like there's something up when they see like a mermaid. So it's going to be hard just to even get on a boat unless you happen to be like at an island. I think, for example, I went to Cannon Cove and I was working on the Siren Skull song voyage, right? A brig had already gotten the chest and the skull and we're heading there. I turned around and beat them to it. And I let my ship sail off to just in a very slow sail. But they already knew like I was there and they had already sent someone over onto the island to kind of scope it out and make sure that, you know, this sloop who immediately turned around as soon as they started coming towards them wasn't trying to like sneak on the island. And they almost got me. They blew up a keg that hit me and knocked me into the water. I swam around and then I kept getting shot and almost died. It wasn't until I was finally able to use the costume barrel that I found Briggsy and I just kind of sat my little barrel next to her. And it was only because of that I ran away from them, that they finally like got tired of all the skeletons spawning and had the person that was running the skull go to Briggsy to go turn it in, and they just happened to be less than 50% health because I had one flintlock shot that killed them, and I grabbed the skull right before they turned it in, and that was it. But I mean, the whole time, like they were hunting for me. They knew I was there. They just didn't know where I was, and whoever was guarding the person with the skull did a bad job of not getting ahead of them to check Briggsy to make sure no one was sneaking around Briggsy or had like a keg stash there or something. So I think it's going to be really, really tough for pirates to try and get some of these commendations knocked out. And I know Norwegian had to step away. He'll be right back. But do you think that there's anything? Does anyone think that they have an idea of like what Rare could potentially do to help kind of mitigate this drop off that I'm expecting, the same way like the Burning Blade did?
Unless they add more like content specifically for that kind of thing, then I don't see it coming back anytime soon.
I haven't, like I said, sorry, let me catch my thoughts. Obviously, I have not played with it at all. Just listening to you guys talk for the last couple minutes about it makes me kind of put it in the same category as some other combinations that I didn't mess with when they first came out. And obviously, like my famous one that I'll probably never get, even though I got one the other day. But even that combination was a little bit different because we were all interacting with each other. I feel the couple times that I've been on the seas lately, not that I think that there's less people playing or not, whether there's proof of that or not. I just know that most of the people that I've ran into lately, there's kind of very distant. They kind of just stay away from each other. We haven't ran into a lot of people that are like gun ho about chasing us down. And when we do get somebody that's gun ho about chasing us down, we've either dumped on them really quick, or they realize we don't want to mess around right now. We're trying to get something done. And the second we turn away, they give up because they don't want to chase you. With that being said, like a lot of these combinations, both with what you guys are talking about with the mimic stuff and some of the ones that just recently came out, whatever, last season or whatever it was, with like hanging off the side of the boat and now you're in the barrel and you got to sneak around. Like, I've just come to the conclusion now that I just give up on that stuff. Like,
Really?
it's not, yeah, for me, it's just like, believe me, is for wanting to have the little, being a checkmark guy and wanting to have that check mark in the box, I just gave up on it because it's like, it's hard, believe me. My mental health is like kicking me in the butt because I want to see that check mark,
Yeah.
If I play a game and I enjoy it, I want to complete everything. But it's just with Sea of Thieves, I just come to conclusion there are some combinations that are probably just going to haunt me because unless if I can roll with somebody else on a server, I'm not getting it done. And don't talk to us about rolling on a server because unless if somebody else can tell us they've had luck, the last 3 times we tried to roll on a server for over an hour plus and with people in the same areas, and it's not working anymore for us. So
Oh, really?
I don't know if Rare, I don't have a good explanation of what I think Rare could do to possibly fix it if there's more drop off or how they could fix it. I just think that I don't know, maybe I'm the crazy one. I just think there's a lot of stuff that Rare's added, like this mimic and stuff, that although it might be a cool concept and it might be awesome, maybe I'm just out of the loop, but I don't feel like a lot of this stuff people have been, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. I don't feel like this is something that people have really been crying out for and that they want. So I feel like it was just a waste of time to begin with to put this crap in the game, in my opinion.
Kind of agree with you. Yeah.
Like and maybe I'm crazy. I'm not saying that there aren't people that are enjoying it or that there's fun things, but I just feel like I've already gotten to the point, all jokes aside, I don't think it's a dead game, but I just have gotten to the point with Rare, period, that I don't trust a single word that they say. I do trust that in time something might get fixed, but at this point it's like, dude, half the stuff you guys are putting in the game, I haven't, as little as I'm looking at media, but I still don't see anybody screaming out for any of this crap, like any of it. And I understand they're the developers, they want the game to be a certain way. They want to put certain things in there, but it's like, look, dude, when your whole community is like, hey, this is what we want and this is what we want fixed, at some point you have to start listening to them and not worry about putting some dart in the game that nobody cares about. But I speak my piece.
Amen.
Maybe, like I said, hate me, love me, whatever you want. But everybody said I was crazy for the last couple of years. But from the outside looking in, it seems like I might be right on most of the stuff I've said. So I don't know. I speak my piece, Logan. Sorry.
No, you're good. No, and that's kind of why I like having these episodes, is because I like to make sure that people are getting their piece out there, that they are getting their 2 cents into the coin jar and making sure that, opinions are heard and that if people resonate with them, they do. If they don't, then they usually say so. And I think it's welcomed to have everyone's kind of voice like their feelings about it, because when you say, I think it's a mistake for Rare to put the mimic dart in the game, I look at that and I think, what's one thing that if I could trade the mimic dart for, what's one thing that I would like to have? And instantly to my mind comes loadouts for cosmetics. I would trade the entire blow dart, grapple gun, double pistol, all of that dev work. I would trade in a heartbeat if I could just organize my cosmetics better, because at the end of the day, the cosmetics are the thing that drive me to do stuff. And when I have a mimic dart that I don't necessarily want or need in the game, then I'm going to sit there and look at the commendations that don't award anything. They're just commendations to do them outside of maybe like a title at this point, and think this feels like fluff. And it doesn't feel like I'm being incentivized enough, or that this is something that is going to justify the effort to work on. Hearing Norwegian talk about how much prep and plan had to go in to get all of those commendations done sounds tedious to me, but I am not everyone, so I can't necessarily speak on how that is a thing that shouldn't be in the game. because it's not for me. It is probably for someone, but it's interesting looking at what people have been talking about and seeing that something like loadouts feels like a stronger community driven idea compared to mimic darts in this case.
Please keep in mind,
Well,
yes, it takes a lot of work. It's fun in the moment, but you guys are 100% correct on this. Nobody's asking for this. Very few people. What people are asking for is the game to be stable, the game to not, uh, I don't know, Kiwi beard you or whatever it is at this point. No black screens, no invisible ships. That's what we want focus on. We want the game. We hit the button, it starts up, it loads, and it functions like it's a triple A game that came from Rare, like it's a premier studio that they're putting off this great work. Not this, for lack of a better term at this point, it's starting to feel like bloat with everything that they're throwing in, trying to jazz up the game again. It's not what we want. What will get them good press and good word of mouth is a game that runs, that feels good, not something that is just blowing at the seams and falling apart.
I feel like, and not to throw this developer under the bus, even though I know a lot of people hate them, but one of my favorite series of all time is the Assassin's Creed series. But I feel like this is like it almost feels like an Ubisoft moment for me, to where in the sense of it almost feels like whether it's Rare, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's the boogeyman in the freaking closet, I don't know, but it's almost like they were like, this was in our timeline, we put this in our timeline 7 years ago that we were going to have these kind of darts in the game, or this, like something, A, B, C, D, E, and F were in place, and we have to get this, we have to get this out. Like, we have to put this in this game. It's almost like there's, some man in the closet with his money holding it saying, hey, we told you, like, we were going to give you this if you put this in the game, or we want the, it seems weird to me. And it's the main reason why, all jokes aside, for a game that I love so much, for the first multiplayer game, I can make the comment that I literally moved halfway across the country because I met somebody playing this game and decided, you know what, I want to move. I want to go to a warmer climate. And oh, by the way, one of my best friends that I met playing Sea of Thieves 7 years ago lives in this area. I have a friend. I could make that argument that happened. And it just seems like Rare is, I don't know who it is, but it just seems like they're just sitting back being like, well, you know what? We know this is in the pipeline. Let's put this out. And it's hard. It's hard for me because it's almost like it's to the point to where, I already didn't like playing with a bunch of new people to begin with. I know I'm a grumpy old man, but if my crew wasn't on, it's like, I don't really want to play, but I was still playing with other people, newer people, playing with people that I don't get to play with all the time. But if it was outside of 5 or 6 people, I didn't really go out of my way. Now, like, unless if a couple people say, hey, I know your normal crew's not on, like, do you want a spot? There's not a chance I'm getting on because I have no desire to get on. Like, I've lost so much love for the game because it just seems like Norwegian said, it's bloat. I don't see the purpose in half this crap that they're putting in there. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, I haven't played the game recently because, what Rusty said, just the amount of bloat, the amount of lack of interest for me personally, because there's no lore, there's no interesting stuff that I'm interested in, besides, I can replay the Tall Tales, but I already played them plenty of times. And some of the stuff like, the new weapons, the stealth stuff in season 14 and all that stuff, I don't know, just makes me feel like I'm just, I might as well be playing Pirate Yakuza when it comes out next month. Just keep my interest in pirates, but not say Sea of Thieves, but don't get me wrong, I still love the game, just wish there was something more besides, let's add a mimic dot that changes your pirate to look like someone else. Like, who does that appeal to exactly, besides the stealth players?
Well, one thing I do want to throw out there, and I've been listening intently on what you guys have been talking about, is that the stealth play has been this season's focus, and we are kind of moving closer and closer towards season 15. So if there was ever a time when they did want to embrace the nature of being sneaky, this is the first season that they've really offered this as something that they've wanted to have as a handout to those that do like those sneak plays. This is their season. So when the PvPers wanted something, they had to wait for Hourglass, and that was a really long wait for them. When people wanted to have lore, we had to wait for Monkey Island, or if we wanted Monkey Island, we had to wait for the Monkey Island content. So while I do want to say, this season may not be focused on something that we all are interested or invested in, hopefully the numbers are showing Rare that people are appreciating and using this content to advantage and coming out with some cool stuff for it. I know a lot of people have enjoyed just the disguises at a comedic level of seeing like 3 chests kind of do little circles around each other and stuff and kind of waddling back and forth. So, but from what I'm hearing is that most of the time you guys are all in agreement that stability is kind of paramount right now. And that is the thing that is driving you away from the game is the lack of stability in the game that is causing you to feel like you are being hindered, not by other pirates, not by skill, not by the availability of new content, but just at the sheer base level of the thing I was expecting to work is not working. And that's frustrating, which pushes me away to want to play something that is working. And with the latest development update, that was something that Drew wanted to come out and talk about. They're going to have small teams that are going to be dedicated towards working on short term and on long term, that they want to try and figure out ways to reduce the weird stutter that happens when a ship comes into render and all of their trinkets start to come in and get loaded in on their ships. Stuff like that when people come back from the ferry and you can see there is a visible stutter when the ship rocks just slightly and someone just came back onto their ship because everything loaded for them and there was a weird server glitch. So stuff like that is stuff that they are trying to work on. But Norwegian HX, to that point, you two have both been experiencing, both on the PC and on Xbox's side, delays in getting back from the ferry. You've been experiencing long black screens. And to that point, is this a situation where simple things that you were expecting or simple things that you deal with on a regular basis are still not necessarily being addressed or called out in videos or in show notes that you feel Rare is still being a little blind to?
Well, I guess for me, so yes, the black screen is back. Did confirm that earlier with Norwegian. But this issue will get fixed, update over update, right? And then something else comes back into the game that was broken before. And this particular black screen, I think, has been quote unquote fixed a few times over the last few seasons. And now that it's back in the game, you kind of wonder, what's going to come back next. And for me, playing this game 5 years, I've seen, season over season, these different bugs that they fixed come back. So I really hope that this last developer update gives us hope that they're actually going to dedicate these teams like they say they're going to fix the game instead of coming out with the next blow dart.
Yeah, I definitely hope that that's the case as well too. It's hard to know when these teams are going to go live, if these things will actually come to fruition. And one of the interesting things that I saw in the discussion in the Discord, which if you guys are in the Discord, the Tavern Talk, Chenzo does a lot of developer work, and a lot of that tends to be on the back end. And I thought it was very interesting, the conversation being had about how a lot of these types of updates are not like glamorous updates from the dev team. They're not excited to promote the next like feature or thing that's coming out. They're talking a lot about the back end stuff that has to get done with the Azure servers and trying to do multi-threading with the Azure servers to try and load stuff into the game smoother for people, which that was kind of surprising that they weren't trying to do anything with this sooner, given the nature of how their content is streamed. So I'm hopeful that they're trying new things and that they're going to actually like come into some wins for the community. But one of the issues that I ran into was they are talking about pushing these updates live, and that some of these updates may come with a bit more of a rocky landing or like a rocky path than the smooth paved out like update that's been tested and has all the bugs fixed out and they've spent a lot of time with it. And one of the issues that I have with that is this should be something that gets pushed to insiders before it goes to live. And using your entire, hundreds of thousands of community members as guinea pigs rubs me the wrong way, because I'm not trying to play the game to test it when I'm playing live for the sake of trying to make the game a better place with my analytics. I'm trying to play the game because I need to have fun, and I need to do something that is entertaining, and spending time with my friends in the game is how I do that. And if I'm going to be doing something that is for the benefit of the game by testing it, then that's why I have insiders. That's why I go to insiders to try and do that. And I don't know that I agree with the sentiment of let's try and push some of these code fixes to live, knowing that there might be some big issues with them. And I don't know if that's a me perspective or if anyone else has a different one.
But I think that they've done a lot of that to where they're not testing as much internally and kind of relying on either the insider or the live gameplay. And I think that's unfortunate, and I hope that changes with this, these developer small groups that they're going to implement. They really need to start testing the things that they're putting in the game thoroughly and not just surface level, because obviously it's bringing back some other things in the game that were issues before, like I said.
So you're talking about like the things that they bring to the game, making sure that those have like a full suite of, okay, these are issues that we've had in the past. Let's just test to make sure that this update doesn't bring those issues back.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
regression testing. I mean, it's even done at a corporate level where I work. You're just making sure things aren't breaking, that may touch these new updates. Making sure those older updates that were a problem don't come back. I mean, they've got a long list of them at this point, and sometimes they just have to keep bringing them back, saying, "Hey, we know this is an issue again."
It's really tough to see like how things are actually going to work from their perspective, how much testing time they have for a lot of this. When should they start communicating some of these updates and stuff? Because right now they're talking about how they're looking at ways to break apart the ships so that parts of it are streamed in at different points instead of all at once. So there isn't such a large load that's thrown at the server from the client side. And I'm kind of hoping that I'm not sure what I'm expecting from them, but I'm hoping that some of these things get fixed. But Norwegian, you got some thoughts on this. I want to give you the floor.
So I work in IT for my career, and I'm a little bit more on the network side. I can't speak directly to developers. Those code kitties are a special breed with how they work and think. But the perfect example of why you don't test in a live environment, look at CrowdStrike last year. Went great for the world with live testing. You just don't do that. We had a situation this last year where we were doing a network upgrade for a location. It come to find out the equipment wasn't tested beforehand, and we completely brought down our company for a good 6-7 hours. You don't test live. It's asking for things to break. It is asking to make people angry. It's not the location to do it. They need to take a really hard look at their insiders programs, the steps that they've taken to get to the point of where it is, and they need to assess on how they get it fixed and get people into insiders, because right now what they're doing is not going to work, and it will cause problems down the road. May not be this update, may be the next one, but they're going to do something where it's going to break the game and it's going to be down for a significant amount of time.
At some point, I start to wonder, when will Microsoft start taking a look at the numbers? Because I imagine at the end of the day, there's a report that gets pushed up to some sort of level of supervisor that has to indicate that Sea of Thieves is either not pulling in the sales, the monthly active users, that the customer sat score is less. There's got to be some sort of indicator that the community is not necessarily like content with it. And it's interesting to me because when I look at what Rare is saying, all they're saying is that reports are down for cheaters, and that a lot of the things that they are testing and doing has improved, and that they're getting better at auto detection for cheaters and stuff like that. But from my perspective, I've been having to put in more reports for cheaters, and the tools that I'm getting for those, or the tools that I'm being offered for those, are not they're not easy enough for me if I was just a console player. Like if I was just a console player and I had to go through the rigmarole that I have to go through when I'm playing on my PC, and it's easy to access files, it's easy to transfer stuff, it's easy to manipulate files to make them smaller or to upload them to YouTube and make them public. Those kind of things are not going to be accessible for the casual gamer. And if they run into a cheater, chances are they're not going to report them. They're just going to stop playing the game. And I'm wondering, when is there a breaking point that Microsoft will finally step in and be like, okay, you guys need to get your house in order? Or has that already happened, and that's why we're seeing these developer updates being focused on stability of the game? Because I would hate to see... Go ahead, Norwegian. Jump in.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
I was
you're
going to actually give you a perfect example to what you're talking to. Go onto Google and just pretend you're the first time you're reporting an issue, a problem, a ticket, a player, whoever it is. Google Sea of Thieves support or submit a problem. It takes you to their forums. It's a post from about 3 years ago. You click the link, and the link is no longer active. It is not the easiest thing to find where you are supposed to be submitting these issues. Now, we have it because we have the community. We can reach out to each other for support. But if you're on your own and you're just looking for it, first thing that pops up is not where you go to submit this. They need to make it easier. They keep talking about how they're putting all these tools in, make it accessible.
Yeah, I'm actually trying this right now to see. So I just put in Sea of Thieves report a player. This is on on incognito, so hopefully isn't pulling any kind of Google cookies or anything like that. Reporting. So it looks like they've got forum topics, but there is a link that is active as of April 24th, 2024. And it says, how to report a player, and it gives you a previously viewed article. Let's see. So far I'm going to have to go through quite a bit of reading just to actually do so. And at this point, I'm already like past the point of caring, because the amount of effort that it took for the person to cheat and ruin my day is shorter than the amount of time that it takes to actually report them. And thankfully, what I will say is, and I see the image that you're showing as far as like you'll need to log in to actually do a report on someone. One thing that I will say is that I think they are working towards increasing the availability of reporting someone in game, as opposed to having to go outside of the game to do that. And I'm hoping that those tools will extend even further to encompass more situations to make it easier for folks to be able to do that. But the point stands is that it is not necessarily easy to jump in and actually report someone, let alone provide evidence that is shorter or smaller than 50 megabytes, which is the current data file limit that they have on their website. You actually have to go into the emails and provide links to them, public links to them, for them to be able to actually like access that stuff. So at the end of the day, I think right now the concern I have is I think the Switch 2 is inevitable for Sea of Thieves in their future. I hope that they are genuinely working hard on trying to get the stability of the game to a point where the community at a base level is happy with how the game is being played and how people are interacting with it, and that the content we get is growth with the world, not necessarily tools that we aren't being asked for. Like I'm kind of past the point where I'm like, okay, I don't want any more tools. I want quality of life features. The grapple gun is the first quality of life feature that I can point to that they've actually like iterated on since its release that has improved the usability of it. But everything else so far has not really wowed me or improved on things that I'm currently already doing. It's easier for me to kill a skeleton with a sword and an eye of reach than it is to hop between multiple blow dart ammo types at the moment. Did anybody have any thoughts that they wanted to jump into for that, or wanted to kind of speak out as far as like some of the things that were coming with like the grapple changes, or just the stability of the game, or any things that you guys have noticed lately that you've either been happy about or not happy about?
I want to go back to your comment about the cheaters.
Mm-hmm.
And say, I hope that, when they say that reporting is down, outside of like console reporting and stuff like that, I hope they're not taking that for granted and saying, well, there's not that many cheaters then. Because I will say over the last 3 days, and it just happened to me about 10 minutes ago, and I ran into another set of cheaters. You couldn't even see them. They were invisible. And this has actually happened to me twice over the last 2 days where I've run into cheaters. Am I going to report them? No, because I'm not recording it. And I know that they usually like to have recording of what's going on. So it makes it kind of difficult. So I don't necessarily think that the less amount of cheaters being reported is a good thing. I think it's still as rampant as it was before.
So you're saying that you feel like it's something where more people are just not caring enough to report, as opposed to when it was a hot button topic that a lot of people were talking on?
I do. I mean, that's kind of how I feel.
Gotcha.
I have reported my fair share of cheaters. I haven't reported the last few because at this point, I'm just over it.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely an issue. When it becomes too hard to, or when the fatigue of having to report multiple people on the go gets to be too tedious, then yeah, it's gonna, like, they're just gonna keep getting away with it, and hopefully the next victims are the ones that actually have like enough patience to dive through all the tools and systems to be able to do this. For Rare, what I would recommend in this instance is when I click on support and I go to submit report a player, I don't want to have to read a forum post. I want a button that says Gamertag reason report. And this is something that I actually really like about Call of Duty, even though I think that Call of Duty's reporting system is flawed. You can't report someone for being toxic, which I think that should fall within the terms of service, is that you have good sportsmanship. So when I go to raise a ticket, not only do I have to create a login, I can't just submit a ticket, but I would love for there to be a way to just be able to type in the gamer tag, click on the report and submit it, throw a captcha in there just to stop the bots. But make it a little bit easier for people to actually put in those reports, because that's the thing that's going to really let you know, like, how many cheaters you're actually running into.
I agree with you.
Going back to the patch notes, we talked about the mimic dart. Just to give some details on those. Yes, you will be able to transform into a player. It will last 2 minutes. And then during that time, they are free to interact with the world while both dealing and taking damage. The mimic effect can be removed by firing another mimic dart at a solid surface. So hopefully you hit the first time and then you don't accidentally hit like another time. When observing a player who is mimicking, no change will be visible to the mimicking player's name as shown in their gamer tag, although it will change color to match the affiliation of their target until engaged in combat, which means if I go to mimic a chick on a server where we're not on the same ship, I will look like her. I will just have my name in white, as I understand it, as opposed to like a green tag. And in Norwegian, maybe you can speak to that as well, since you've got the commendations knocked out.
No, you're right. Like I said, though, it's by the time you've done all of that and you landed it, they're already onto you, though.
Yeah.
It might fool them for a few moments. Yes, you look like them. You look like an ally with your name, but just hope they're not in a party or they're chatting or he doesn't have a mic when you do it.
Yeah. Additionally, within the actual patch notes, it says that pirates can also mimic the mimic, chaining the same appearance onto multiple pirates for ultimate hijinks. Simply shoot a player already under the mimic effect to copy their look. And then while mimicking a target, players wishing to emote will be shown a simple set of emotes that can be performed as that character. Once the mimic effect is ended, the player will regain access to their full set of owned emotes. So one of the first commendations you do is you can actually hit somebody with a mimic dart. Could be a friend, could be an enemy. And then you open up your emote radial and it'll show you the base set of emotes. So the point one that you need for that commendation should be right there instant. So hopefully make it a little bit easier for folks that are a little worried about that but haven't gotten a chance to mess around with it.
The chaining does work. I can confirm that it does work. I watched a brig crew copy me, and then they copied each person one by one, and we slowly became the best looking group of 4 players on the seas. Everybody looked like me, and it was glorious.
So now we just need to find like the ugliest pirate to counteract that. And we have to go and make 4 copies of the ugliest pirate and see.
I think Trickster has that covered.
Trickster has done a good job of trying to make his character look as mix matched as possible for sure. The Pirates of Mischief section in the Reputation tab now holds a range of commendations, challenging players to use mimicry to baffle other players with the Lucky Hand blowpipe as a reward. I'm gonna be real honest. If that is the only reward that you get for all of these commendations, I'm a little disappointed because the Lucky Hand, the set, isn't really tied to commendations in other places that I can think of. Because I know at least right now, a fair few of the equipment just got pushed to the actual shops, and you can go and purchase those for, I think it's 600 doubloons each. So it's odd to me that the Lucky Hand set is one that is being tied to the blowpipe for these commendations. I think it should have been a one-off that was special, specifically just to like these actual commendations. And I don't know, you could do something real silly. You could put a scope on that thing, probably make people real happy to have a scope on a blowpipe. But yeah, that's it as far as the blowpipe. We did get some changes to the grapple gun, so little note about that. Players missing a shot with a grapple gun will now find the arrowhead returns during the recoil. It is still needed to reload, but no longer consumes ammo for missed shots. I don't know about you guys. I think this is a good change. I still think there's room for improvement on these for what you can and can't grapple to. But anyone else jumping into the grapple gun as much as I do?
I haven't, but I've watched you do it. And it's definitely a huge improvement since it first came out. I actually had a guy board me earlier today 3 different times with the grapple gun after he missed the board. So I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. I need to start using that.
Yeah, I think the power invested in the grapple gun when it comes to trying to get boarding done makes me glad that they put that change into the weapon chest so that they aren't able to access your weapon chest on your ship, giving them power to not only get onto your ship, but then also to have like a stronger loadout once they do get on, if they manage to kill you like that first time. Really glad that they didn't, that they made that change, because I think it would have been far too easy for skilled players to be able to get onto your ship using the grapple and then switch to their normal kind of PvP loadout. I think having the stick with that grapple kind of ensures that you're making up power in one area versus another. If you can get the board, then you should only be able to have like one weapon to really be able to use against that, because you still have blunder bombs, you still have fire bombs, you still have skeleton what are we calling those? Bone balls, whatever we're calling them. Norwegian, I thought you were going to call it out.
Bone collars?
Bone collars.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, we call them other things in the game, but that's, keep this PG.
Yeah, I can't even remember what we call them. They're just bone collars. So there's lots of other like supplemental tools now that we have that will help make up for that power gap if you do use a grapple gun. But having the ammo, if you miss return, really does kind of like help, because there's no indicator for how far something is if you can or can't get it. And sometimes you're shooting for the sake of trying, and if you can't get it, then you need to move a little bit closer. And just having that extra arrowhead makes a big difference. But I will say, I still think you should be able to grapple to merfolk, because getting to a mermaid faster, I think would be a tremendous help if you're giving up, like say the sword, to be able to sword lunge off to go to one. But anyway.
Yeah. I agree with you there.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that.
It just makes sense in my mind. If I'm going to have a gun, or if I'm going to have a blowpipe, and I use the grapple as opposed to my sword, I want to have the same functionality as the sword lunge that I would if I was having a sword. But getting to mermaids, there's sometimes you're in the middle of the water and it's going to take a while to spawn. The mermaid decides to spawn in a random weird place, and you're super far, and you're like, well, there goes my boat, because I don't have a way to get closer, but I do have a grapple, but I can't use it on merfolk.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, you can even justify it by saying they catch it and they just hold on to it while you get wheeled in, and they use their little fishy tail to deal with the physics of two masses moving towards each other in the water.
While we're talking about improvements, the blade. So I think that the blade needs to have a better timer and despawn quicker, because most of the servers I've been on the last 3 days have all been blades, unoccupied blades. But yeah, so not necessarily change like the spawn timing, but how long they're on the server without anybody going for it, especially since it travels all over the server. It could interact with a boat that doesn't care,
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I honestly would like to just have the burning blade decoupled from world events in the same way that megalodons aren't coupled to world events, so that a megalodon will spawn whenever. It doesn't matter. Kraken will spawn as a world event, but there's not really enough loot or justification or even anything tied to the Kraken to really justify it as a world event. So I would like to have like the Meg, the Kraken, and the Blade all just as emergent threats that aren't tied to any one world event and can just be out and about in the world. So you could be doing the skeleton fleet in the middle of the ocean or in the middle of the seas, and a blade just happens to come by and you're like, oh, well, this is either good or bad. Let me get the burning blade and use it to start taking on the skeleton fleet and just have some fun hijinks with that. Like that would be something I would love to have that.
Okay. So what about summoning a normal shark by like putting a piece of meat in the water?
Something like that. I mean, being able to throw something other than just the throwables itself would be great. I would love to be able to just, if I have chicken, I want to chum the water. I have a bunch of uncooked meat. Let me throw it into the water to summon sharks, because trying to get double barrel kills on sharks, it's literally just go to a shipwreck and hope for the best and just always have your double barrel pistol on you. But, Norwegian, Regis, if you guys are available, any thoughts or anything you guys want to toss out as far as commentary on that or something else?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay.
Pardon my son's noise, but I can attest that very few people are actually doing the burning blade now. One of the things I like to do as a solo player and somebody that needs to be doing work on the side, I will sneak on board a computer-controlled burning blade and sit there and wait to take it over as somebody comes by finally to do it. Very few people are actually going after him now. And I don't know if they can just jazz it up, but definitely 100% they need to take it off of a world event. These things just sit there patrolling aimlessly in the water all by themselves now, or they go attack fresh spawns at outposts. That's all they're doing.
It's like the first year where there was nothing but skeleton fleets. After the skeleton fleets came out, just nobody would do them. Just nobody can do forts because of the skeleton fleets.
Yeah, I remember there's definitely been some times. What was it? Remember y'all remember that big red head in the sky? Not Santa Claus. I'm talking about the big flamey boy. He would just
Mr. Flameheart.
Somebody would just wander into one of Flameheart's armadas, and then for the rest of the evening, that's all there was. It was just Flameheart's head in the sky. No skeleton ships. No forts, nothing. Like, it was just him, and it was all because some random person in a sloop just happened to like get attacked by one of the stray shots from one of the ghost ships, and it was just like, all right, well, if we want to do anything world event wise, we're just gonna have to go and finish Flameheart.
Yep. And then listen to him yell at you.
I miss Mr. Potato Head yelling at me.
I do too, actually.
We've gotten to a state of the game when we miss it, right?
Yeah. And people, people were ready for him to be gone. I think it's just one of those situations where, because of the interaction and design around how that event worked, everyone was tired of the fact that he was just always present, because someone would inevitably wander into the area, get attacked, and then that world event was locked in for a certain amount of time. I think the Burning Blade suffers from that as well. It is a roaming event, but I think that it needs to be pulled out of the world event list and just have it be an emergent threat that just kind of wanders around. And if you happen to get rared to the point where a megalodon spawns and it's in the area and you're fighting it as the Burning Blade like wanders on by, that's just the hand you were dealt that day. But I would like to see the blade kind of moved off, or at least have the timer shortened. We have had some other timers shortened. Speaking of ammo pouches left in the world behind from like events or skeletons, things like that. Those are only going to last 10 minutes now, which that's interesting. Anyone have any thoughts on that? Because I got a couple thoughts.
Is that like more of a stability type thing, just because there's more things in the world? Because I don't really care, I guess.
I think it's more performance, to be honest. Like, just
Okay.
to limit the amount of stuff in the server to make it more streamlined, I guess you can say. Though at this point, it's hard to say with what goes on.
So yeah, that is my understanding is that this is tied to stability and performance. The fewer items in the world that are interactable, the less strain a server has because there's less things in memory. With these being killed after 10 minutes, it frees up the memory to try and actually like bog down the server. It ensures that more things can happen in the world and that you're not running into those situations where having a huge number of pieces of treasure on the server are just decimating like performance. And you can feel it across the seas when somebody's been stacking forever and you're just like, oh my God, somebody's got a boatload of treasure because I can't move without rubber banding.
Yeah, I mean, if it's something they identified that could help performance, then I'm all for it. I mean, I could care less on how long it stays, you know? I mean, if I'm on a fort and I need an ammo pouch, I mean, if it despawns after 10 minutes, I'm probably not going to care at that point.
The other thing that I wanted to dive into was something that I know that I've definitely run into, and that is there are some fixes that came in. One of them being that the sound you hear when you are fighting an ashen skeleton and they do the smoke effect no longer has that weird high-pitched effect. And I got to experience that just before we were recording. Much more welcome to not have that weird cave-like high-pitched noise that comes whenever you're fighting an Ashen Lord.
Yes, I'm glad they were able to fix it this round. It was very hard to play and have to listen to that sound.
Outside of that, it looks like that is roughly most of the main stuff. There are quite a bit of fixes, both to like stability, text and localization, visual and audio things, as well as environmental issues. Crouching and stealthing got some fixes as far as like players exiting crouch while aiming down sights will no longer appear in an idle stance to others and will consistently appear aiming their equipped weapon. Switching weapons just before interacting with a hanging point no longer causes players to lose access to their weapons. Players crouching before grabbing onto a ladder will now return to a crouch when letting go. Players will no longer hear water splash effects when crouching to cancel the action to throw a bucket. If you hit block with your sword and ring the bell on a ship too quickly, you will still disconnect. This happens on ammo boxes and lights as well. I don't know why that's a thing that's been in the game forever. That's a bug, but I heard about it this week and I was like, what? So looking at the notes, lots of other stuff to kind of like dive into, but for all intents and purposes, there's new stock in the Emporium. There's the red Lodestar ship set and Spyglass, as well as Ship Crest, Cat, and Pirate, and a new snake version of the Lunar Festival cosmetics, and as well as a obviously emote that is for free. So make sure you guys are jumping in there and getting that. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up, unless anyone had anything that they wanted to jump into. All right,
No, nothing here.
Cool. Well, as we head out, as always, I want to thank you all for joining me today. I'm going to go down the list, and if there's anything you want to shout out or say, definitely feel free to do so. So starting off with A-Chick, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Anything you want to shout out or say as we head out?
No. It was fun. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Of course. Anytime. Norwegian, we are heading out, buddy. I know you got your kid there. You want to make sure give them some attention. I appreciate you spending some time with me and everyone else. Anyone you want to shout out or anything you want to shout out as we head out? See, I caught him at the worst time. All right, let's jump ahead. We'll come back to Norwegian. Regis.
Sorry, guys. Holden baby. Apologize for the noise.
You're good. You're good.
Shout out to everybody in the community. Thank you again. Everybody in this community is fantastic and wonderful. They're all good people. Special shout out to Squid, my partner in crime on our sloop and shenanigans that we pull and the armed robbery that we pull. We don't sink them, we don't kill them, but we take their supplies and leave them a piece of wood.
That's all they need is one piece. You can survive with a lot of holes as long as you just have one.
We're just helping them become stronger players.
Already heading out, Regis. It's that time, buddy. Anyone you want to shout out or anything you want to shout out as we head out?
Well, I already mentioned like the Lego One Piece and Lego Bluey thing, but today in Australia is a very special day. It's Australia Day, kind of like your American Independence Day.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, but yeah, it's a time where us Aussies go outside, turn on our barbecues and have a bit of a sausage, some steaks, some meat, some burgers, some kebabs, stuff like that. Don't worry, there is awesome. There is vegetarian options for whatever bloody reason, but you know,
that's cool.
Yeah, it's a great day to celebrate Australia, though it's a bit of a controversial one depending on who you ask here. But I'm not going to get into that. So today is Australia Day, and I'm looking forward to even having a barbecue day tomorrow, or hopefully sometime within the respected time.
Nice. Well, definitely if you get a chance, we do have a food channel. Definitely make sure to get some photos, post some food. I'm curious to see what it's like, and yeah, have a good time. Be safe. Don't do anything too crazy.
And before you ask, it's a gas grill, not charcoal grill.
Oh, interesting.
For barbecues.
I know nothing about the difference. I would be honest. I couldn't tell you why.
One uses charcoal, the other one uses gas.
Yeah, I know that, but I couldn't tell you like the benefit. You getting smart here. All right. Rust Belt Kid came back after disappearing for a little bit. We had some good conversations. I wish you were here to jump in because I'm sure you would have had some good points to make. So apologies that you weren't able to hang out with us for the whole time. But anyone you want to shout out or say anything you want to point to as we head out?
No, just glad I could chime in a little bit and kind of put a little bit out there that I feel like it's been on my chest for a while about the game. But just glad to be here, and just hope everybody's doing good. Everybody's safe. As much as I hate doing it and as much as I don't want to do it, I might try to reach out and see if anybody random wants to maybe combination hunt a little bit. We'll see if I can get some things done, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, other than that, I'm just gonna be while Regis enjoys his Australia Day, I'm gonna be down here in this new body of water called the Gulf of America, enjoying some freedom. But no, all fun aside, just hope everybody's good, everybody be safe, and this is the time of year. I won't take too much more time, but I will say this is the time of the year that kind of a lot of people don't know. I don't talk about things too much, but time of the year that things kind of get a little rough, a little mentally. So please, anybody, I don't care who you are, where your past is, whatever. If you're having any kind of mental things going on, reach out to people. That's all I gotta say.
I appreciate that. Yeah, especially for folks on the northern hemisphere. Regis, I'm sure you probably deal with this in the southern hemisphere during the winter time.
Yeah.
Winter is always a tough time for folks. I know I always felt it when I was in Alaska during the winters. Being cold, being isolated can definitely wear on you. So one of the great things about gaming is that we get to sit inside where it's nice and warm and chat with people online. So if you are having any doubts about who's out there or who to chat with, if you're feeling down and out and you don't really want to like do anything, reach out, share that thought, share that feeling, and then definitely see if anyone's around to just hang out. Even if you guys are jumping on safer seas just to fish, or you're going into high seas to do skeleton forts or skeleton camps or what have you, reach out, say hi, embrace someone if you can. Make sure it's consensual. No hugging people that don't want to be hugged, because that's also don't want to hug people. You don't want to be the person that doesn't like to get hugged and somebody just comes and hugs you, because then you're like, well, I don't know what to do. So make sure you guys are having some friends, some conversations, and always, if you need someone, reach out. We got a lot of good folks in the Discord, like Rusty said, like Regis has always been around. So take care of yourselves. Make sure you guys are having a great weekend. And with that, I'll see you on the next time.